of research behind the scenes from the legal perspective, from the implications, from everything else. So Al Jazeera does this documentary, and I believe Al Jazeera is state owned. You correct me if I'm wrong. It's not an independent broadcaster. So they would have done their due diligence behind the scenes extensively. Why withhold this now when all the commissioning would have been done and all the due processes followed? Over to you, Simba.
Thank you very much. Finos, you have narrated it very well. The Al Jazeera is not, and I have to state here, is not controlled by the Qatar government. Number one, I have to state here, their editorial policy is not controlled by the Qatar government. I've worked for this news network for the last 4 years. To those who follow the news, you will see I've even been public about it. And I also have to correct you, Finos. You said that I was behind the scenes. I wasn't behind the scenes. I was actually very public about my work. I guess maybe sometimes people follow the sensational and they would rather maybe hear and follow stories like Zana Maititi and Madam Boss. But the ones, the Al Jazeera, and particularly this investigation on gold smuggling, it's not coming out today. The engagement, even with John Mangujiga, is not new. I engaged John Mangujiga as far back, and even publicly, as far back as January 2019, soon after I had called the first gold smuggler, the Kenyan Indian Kamlesh Patni, on live video, Muswa 3, November 2018. So I just want to state here, in terms of independence, I do not doubt Al Jazeera's independence, editorial independence. And I'm saying this from my experience, folks, not because I have a contractual relationship with the news network. I have seen it. I myself tried to push my own editorial bias on this production from the onset, even to the point of almost strangulating the production as early as January 2019, 4 years ago. And I failed. We're talking here, me literally demanding that I don't want a penny, I don't even want $10. This type of work that you would like me to do for you, I will give it to you in exchange for grilling Cyril Ramaphosa. In my view, the best way to make this production a success was bringing an expose against someone like Cyril Ramaphosa, which wouldn't be embarrassing on Ramaphosa. It would actually be facilitative to Ramaphosa um, in his own administration as a head of state and also as a state actor in the SADC region. But I failed. And more so, I want to say here, if and come on, folks, those who are saying, oh, there's political, and I've just heard Tadini there. Listen to me. If there was a hand from the Qatar government or even from the UAE, okay, how would this news network have carried on for 4 years investigating something that they would all of a sudden just pull off and withdraw? I need us to get my facts here. Let's get facts before we throw opinion. How would they have been? I don't see this production being affected by any politics from either Qatar or any other external entity. Because more so here, look at it. Some people have even interpreted this production to have been influenced by the American government. And have you ever seen, has this ever occurred to you that if there is any state operator, like state actor, who is embarrassed by this documentary, if there is any embarrassment against the state, it's neither Zimbabwe, nor Qatar, nor UAE. It's actually the British government, because they allowed one of the smugglers, Hubert Anjo, to become an ambassador who frequents London and Harare, and who is a thug, who is well known to be a thug. Some of this, and Kamlesh Patni, the Indian, also is a British citizen. So I'm just saying here, if there is any such, how would it be? I mean, if there was a state operator here to be embarrassed, it would be the West. It would be Britain and America. And Qatar or UAE or whoever here would possibly want it to come out. If there was such. Assuming, okay, and I'm trying to be as exhaustive as assuming there is some state interest, I would want to propose to whoever it is, assuming there's someone there in the Qatar government, right, who has got such, right? I would want to propose, look, where is the embarrassment there? Where is the politics, if there is any? If there was to be, like as has been suggested. But coming down to my facts now, why is the delay? Before you throw opinion, as I said before, let's look at what is there as facts. As facts, these are the facts. Whenever a production, an investigation, or a story, this is just a story, has been commissioned and is now due for broadcast, there is the legal signing off process. The legal signing off process started, the final legal signing off process started in February. And folks, it wasn't the only signing off. There have been so many signing offs for over 4 years. So, understand there are layers and layers of professional news gathering and assembling of a credible international documentary here. Now, when that happened, and Manguja and several other people implicated or even connected, had received these questions. And responded by the 27th of February, as he says in his statement. The government of Zimbabwe used certain individuals, that they didn't do it very evil. They used certain individuals to communicate, to make a legal objection to the immediate broadcasting. They were not protesting the actual production of this documentary. What they were complaining about is the immediate, like they were saying, look, give us time to reply, give us a right to reply. And they used individuals who appeared as if they are sympathetic to a just cause, and wanted here, and they mentioned that they claim that the documentary influences elections. So it would be unjust to suddenly throw it out there into the public. So these are the facts. Hear me. That communication was to the foreign affairs minister in Qatar. So in Qatar, and then it was also to the directors of Al Jazeera. This is communication that I have, not because I'm an insider in Al Jazeera, but because I am also a news researcher in Zimbabwe. So I got this stuff that I'm telling you from Zimbabwe, ku Harare, kwete ku Qatar, or ku Al Jazeera. This is the factual thing. So communication yakaenda mswa 28 February. So yainda kudaro. I'm sorry, I've just reverted to Sean. I'm going to come back to English. So after that communication had been communicated, that legal objection, the procedure for any journalist, I'm glad there's some journalists inside here. When you have a legal objection, if someone tells you that you have possibly crossed the line, or you are likely to cross the line, the immediate thing that you would do is to delay and reassess your legal defenses. You want to check, are there possible loopholes? But at the same time, the right to reply is a standard procedure in everything that we do. If someone comes out there and says, Simba, that story that you're about to release there, it affects a group that is that is on an island in Madagascar, for instance, Simba will have to delay and reassess, because journalism should not be there to hurt anyone. It should be there to inform, to equip, to critique, but at the same time to build. So we are not there to destroy anyone. So what Al Jazeera has simply done is not new. When I was doing one of these operations, these investigations, and this was in May 2022 last year, and I had a moment of glory, of journalistic glory, of Auxilia Mnangagwa accidentally pressing the video button, Emerson Mnangagwa's wife calling me on live video, and I had 35 minutes to grill her on some of these issues, particularly what people are now excitedly calling the Dunderhead scenario of Constantino Chiwenga, the gold smuggling. And this was my questionnaing with Auxilia was on Mary Chiwenga. Now, around that time, people remember, those who can and who do, I received legal protestations. Some of them were on social media from certain people. Some were very direct. Two of them were very direct. The first one was from Benson Muneri, who is Auxilia Mnangagwa's aide and a business partner in the grill, the hot place grill restaurant business. And then the second one was from Benson Muneri's best friend or friend, excuse me, let me just say, call him friend, Hopo Chingono, the following day, telling me that I had blackmailed Auxilia Mnangagwa and that this was a crime. By the way, you can see this tweet.
Sorry,
I
Mkoma Simba.
What? Please don't
Mkoma Simba
interrupt me, please.
ndihita inobvawanisa
Don't interrupt me, please. Don't interrupt me, please. That
Excuse me, guys.
no,
Just
please
let him
don't.
flow a little bit because you might lose a line of thought. I think he's building up to his story, so just give him a moment. Thanks. Go ahead, Simba.
Okay. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So when I had been when I was told that I had blackmailed Auxilia Mnangagwa, I didn't believe that I had blackmailed Auxilia Mnangagwa, and I still don't believe I did. I in any way, because in my view, that is standard procedure. When you are about to publish a story, you engage the person you are publishing. Like right now, in this final stage, we have written to these people, including Mangojiga. We're about to publish this documentary. So you then give them a deadline. I'm going to publish in 2 days' time. So you have 8 hours. Like in this case, I said to Auxilia, you have 8 hours to come back to me. And if you don't, people are going to have to watch everything. That is, even including what is in your house, everything that is in your side without context. Saka vanhu vachaonerera gold rese riya riri pamacheya penyu paya paya, zvese zvamamuchiita nekufonera mumwe murume, you called a man. So I just told her, of course I didn't say it that way, but I actually did say, look, you've got 8 hours to reply me. The reason why I did that, I put that in the public domain. Some people thought ndanga ndichionererwa. I actually had told Benson Muneri, Hopo Chingono's friend, that I am going to go ahead and Auxilia needs to finish this interview. I still have that correspondence if anyone wants to see it. That I'm going to go ahead and she needs to finish my interview. Benson Muneri played a game on me, and I'm going to reveal something people did.
Simba, just two more minutes, Mongo.
Okay, yeah,
Just two more minutes, then
I'll
you
land.
can.
Thank you shortly. So Benson Minori had played a game on me, and I only discovered hours later that he was just playing the delay game, and Auxilia was not going to finish my interview. So when I did that, eventually, and Hopo Chingono had threatened me, saying, "Look, you have blackmailed Auxilia Mnangagwa." I had to pull back. I actually deleted the tweet because you're reassessing your legal. You're like, maybe it's blackmail, maybe not. And I'm hearing this from someone who has a CNN award. So I then pulled back. I actually deleted the tweet and I reworded it. And I delayed also even the broadcast. And some people wondered why I did that. Some people even thought that I had been paid by Auxilia. But eventually, later on, days later, people started missing, throwing the audio out there. And as it was in the story, people checking it, it's still on YouTube, people can see it. So you get these disruptions, folks. This is standard. What has happened to the Al Jazeera documentary? Um, it's a result of such, it's a legal protestation. Someone tells you that you have messed up, that you are trying to blackmail, or you're trying to disrupt the running of government, you're trying to interfere with elections. Those are because that is the exact line of argument. If there is something else, like is being suggested by Tadini here, of saying, well, this and that, this is our partner, Qatar is this and that, I think that would be secondary or thirdary, right? But the real thing here, folks, at the base, let me tell you, Al Jazeera is a professional broadcaster. Right now, they're doing a brilliant job. They're doing better than all these Western broadcasters. I think people can agree. They try. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they do try to be as professional as they can. They've even denied even my own biases, which could have benefited them. They denied because what they are trying to do, and you can see so far, what they've produced is factual. To the point of even convincing making a reserve bank governor to announce that there are no sanctions. When you see a lot of people shaking like that, you can see that the level of professionalism here is cut above. So I just want to, telling you, I'm saying this and relating to the Zimbabwean people and to everyone here. I'm an insider in this documentary, and I'm telling you what I'm seeing myself. So any questions?
Okay,
Go ahead.
Mkoma Simba, thank you. Mkoma Finance, before we move to the next people, there are two issues that I've picked up from Simba's presentation. He speaks of making sure that your legal standing is correct before you release anything. But what questions that come to mind is that surely Al Jazeera should have first, before they were flighting the advertisement that they are going to show this documentary or any snippets thereof, they should first surely have approached the concerned subjects before they could advertise, right? So what Simba is saying now becomes contradictory in the sense that the first thing would for them to share with the concerned subjects, and then thereafter, when they clear up this, then they can go ahead. That's number one. Number two, what Simba was saying again, that we have the ambassador at large who is in the UK and other people. It now fuels what I was trying to say, that we cannot rule out the fact that there could be some Western powers who have been benefiting in the illicit gold trading, the money laundering, who can surely put pressure on the Qatar government and say, look, we are implicated, we are involved. On government, you need to, silence your horses, you need to silence your dogs just for inter-government relations. And then the Qatar government's hand is actually forced to stop its own people. You can come in, co-host.
Yeah. Course, can I please clarify something, please, with your permission, for 10
Yeah, that's
seconds?
cool. Go ahead.
For 10
That's
seconds,
okay.
thank you. Yeah. On that, I just wanted to say, Tadini, what you said at the beginning there, and oh, sorry, I think I've probably lost it already. What did you say, by the way? Just repeat the first one.
That was Mkoma Herbert. Herbert, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was alluding to the fact that you're talking about, for the benefit of doubt, for the subject who is included in the documentary, as you were saying, the
Oh yes, oh
journalistic
yes. Now I remember.
approach.
Now I remember. You
Yes,
said. Now I
yes.
remember it. You said that Al Jazeera didn't do its job. My brother, my brother. You've seen. How many people have you seen responding? Clearly stating that they were approached for comment, including the central bank governor. The central bank governor was approached twice, if not more than that. I approached him at the beginning of this documentary.
No, so, let me rephrase. Maybe you lost my
No, no,
thought there.
let me
I didn't say
say
Al
this.
Jazeera.
Yeah,
I didn't say no.
you
You
said
might misquote
maybe.
me.
You said
I
you said
said, if I follow your line of thought, surely Al Jazeera could not flight an advertisement and release snippets before approaching the subject. Now, with your line of thought now, it seems now what happened first now is Al Jazeera releasing snippets, releasing an advert, and then the government of Zimbabwe, or RBZ, then reacts with litigation. Then the Al Jazeera have to do their homework, which I'm saying with your line of thought now. What should have happened first was Al Jazeera, before they released snippets and adverts, they would have shared this first with the RBZ to hear their response, the right to respond before they can do advertisement.
Okay, Simba,
right,
did you
right.
want to
Okay.
respond to that quickly,
Yeah,
please?
yeah.
Then we
Thank
can
you.
move on.
Okay, thank you, host. Yeah, they actually did that. They actually did approach these people one by one, all of them. I can tell you that there was a time when I was actually ordered, Simba, don't release any of this content. Don't mention any of these names to anyone. That was in February. I can tell you that date. I was inside the studio, and I can tell you that that was observed. No one got surprises. That was not a surprise. The announcement was not a surprise. Everyone knew. And did you know what Koma Ebet, people knew from way back in 2019. Do you know how extensive this was? I wish I could even put links here. I even Some of these people, the first gold smuggler, I approached him on live video. So some of this work was not even secret. It was actually public. You are only hearing it public right now because it's being advertised, and there's a bit of extra shine and noise around it. But some of this work was actually done. Excuse me, half of this work was actually done in on live video. And now only people are listening to it because it's been maybe perhaps there's noise. People are now afraid because the evidence is now too insurmountable. So what I'm saying is, what I'm seeing here, some of these people who are stealing, right? And you will discover, maybe there are some people who are innocent. You get me? Here and there, who are just caught up, and their names are inside there. But those who have been doing this, they actually knew that they are being investigated. They were public. They saw it. Are you with me? And we're talking about some of the most notorious, like Kamlesh Patni, who is the most notorious gold smuggler, perhaps in the world. Yes, someone who grounded Kenya's economy such that it's going to take 80 years for it to recover. Repeating the same thing in Zimbabwe, exposed live by Zimbachi Kanza on the 4th of November 2018, knew what was happening. They knew, and they even spotted, I was doing these things publicly. I was in and out of Dubai myself, publicly, using my own passport, not using a secret name. And it also brings to light some things that some people have been trying to sensationalize and claim that, oh, so and so. I noticed some people who were not even related to the documentary claiming that, oh, I'm going to be arrested by ZANU PF for tweeting about the Al Jazeera documentary, when the real people who were working on this were doing this publicly. I was in and out of Dubai, where the Fidelity Printers gold storage is, where Kamlesh Patni is based, where the greatest thugs who could easily have hired thugs and killed me. I was there in September last year, in and out of Dubai several times. So in this whole entire period, let's get facts, folks. That delay nema facts. Tozorova chi, tozorova
Oh,
sukana
perfect.
makommente edu after. Thank you.
Okay, okay, perfect. Simba, I want you to stay as one of our speakers because I think there will be a few people engage you. But for now, I'll go to Ian first, then Konzanani, then CCN. So Ian, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, guys. Firstly, thank you, Advocate. Thank you, Finance, the speakers here. Thank you, Simba. I think there's a lot of information and perspective that you're really bringing to contextualize the issue quite well. And I think, Advocate, in any corporate scenario, and you being, a lawyer, you'd understand that a legal issue may, even though where people have been given the opportunity to respond, and we know that they've been given the opportunity to respond because the RBZ statement actually states that they responded. And I think the additional detail that we're getting from Simba is that even in the process of developing the content that the affected individuals were to respond, they probably didn't take it until the snippets came out, and therefore the RBZ then had to engage. Now, in the context of legal matters, there are always different perspectives and different interpretations of legal rights. That's why sometimes things go to court, and people listen to heads of arguments and they look at evidence and they cross-examine and then they come up with sober judgment. Why? Because there's always different perspectives. Now, when they delay in this case, it's not because they have not requested the responses or given them the right of response. It's that there is a different dimension to the legal interpretation of the rights that have been violated, etc., etc. And of course, the content of what they would have received from those representing these guys would require, the legal minds to digest it. And even in a corporate scenario, you might find 2 or 3 different corporate lawyers having a different take on it. So they're digesting it. Does this mean that this thing will be completely taken off air? I don't think so. I think also when we are coming up with analysis or interpretations of what permutations could have happened, it's important, like Simba is saying, is to start with the facts. You build a theory and you build an hypothesis based on the exhibited facts. So what are the exhibited facts? The documentary has taken a number of years to produce. It has gotten to a point where it is ready for flighting. Snippets have been flighted, and there's been a delay, which we understand, of course, is triggered by legal rights. However, the response that we see in writing from the Reserve Bank itself gives us some additional detail. And to me, what is the additional detail that it gives is that the nature of the insinuations or accusations are such that they warrant the central bank to distance itself categorically on a number of fronts. One, it has to distance itself categorically from the individual's claims contained in the snippet. Distance itself categorically on the position with regards to the nature of sanctions and whether these are on Zimbabwe or they are on individuals. 3, it has to distance itself categorically on whether it is able as a country, as a central bank that is responsible for the flows of funds that pertain to the balance of payments, i.e. imports and imports and exports, whether these are curtailed by sanctions. 4, it has to distance itself categorically with regards to whether the individuals that are named in this documentary have any nexus to existing entities or individuals on the OFAC list, whether they're sanctioned or not. And then fifthly, it has to categorically distance itself on the insinuated actions having a nexus on sanctions busting, or this being a methodology housed under the auspices of the Reserve Bank to circumvent sanctions. And of course, that means that there are follow-on implications with regards to fines and so forth and so forth. So I think in the factual realm, there are a number of broad-based indicators that we can then use to either qualify the hypothesis that we believe or the hypothesis that we reject. So here's the reality. Ndakambozvitaura kuti Mangudya haana kunyora tsamba iyi achinwa tea akabhara 4. This is one of those things that he had to do under immense pressure and under the sanctioning of ED himself. And when we understand that, it means that the veracity of the implications, direct and indirect, in this documentary are of grandiose proportion. They have really nothing to do. Yes, you can theorize. And I'm not disqualifying the theory that there are broader people who have maybe connections and influence within whether it's Bretton Woods, whether it is the West, whether it is whatever, that may result in some additional exposés that could link, that could. All I'm saying is that in building the hypothesis, there are near to and further to hypothesis, and we need to understand the things that are rather obvious. The right things that are rather obvious when you look at the financial space. The financial space is very well regulated. You look at the Financial Action Task Force and the engagement with RBZ from 2019, when RBZ was when Zimbabwe was grey listed, to 2022 when they came off the grey listing, and then the grey listing process of South Africa, which actually was announced in February of 2023. I don't see that these things are disconnected with the fact that the implications of what is going to be exposed in this will clearly and most definitely indict the Reserve Bank and John Mangudya in terms of their responsibility in presiding over a gold smuggling, black market, and laundering of money. And therefore, it's incumbent upon them to make sure that they clear their name prior to, before this thing hits the public domain, because it has incriminating information. Why go to the level of doing that?
Can I just interject you a little bit? Why I'm not buying the idea of the right to response and the litigation issue. I think we should agree between me and you, or we may agree between me and you, that the right to response is not confined in an infinite space. There should be a time frame when a journalist wants to release something. They should have a time frame where the implicated should have responded. So it's not like it's infinite. So then if Al Jazeera gave time to RBZ and RBZ did not respond in the time which was expected, surely when we are about to flight something, when we had given you a right to response, we cannot then backtrack when we had given you that right to response and the time lapsed. So that's why I'm not buying the issue of litigation and the right to response, but the right to response is not infinite.
Okay, advocate, like I said to you in the beginning, legal interpretations differ from one lawyer to the other. Correct. Right. Now, when you are given a right to respond, which is part of the journalistic process that Simba alluded to, and as you are about to publish, you get a letter from very senior and renowned international lawyers citing different aspects from a different legal interpretation of the rights that you have violated or are impending to violate and the consequence thereof. It is wise for you to simply pause and really validate whether that legal position is is um is valid. I don't see why we defer to the fact that the US or the UK or Europe or those kind of people would have interfered in the process when we have direct players within their legal ambit to actually raise and to the qualified lawyers stifle the process, go through the painstaking language of and understand the principles around building and framing a hypothesis and then putting it to a statistical test based on the probabilities of it actually occurring. And on that basis, I'm saying that the near side possibility, the test of this thing here going into a 95% confidence level is very weak. That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Mkoma. Cost.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Between Konzanani and Tadini, I don't remember Kutindiana going the first, but let's go with Konzanani first. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna be quick. Or any other media platform that you can think of. To me, what I've gathered about these guys, they've got integrity. They seem to be more authentic than other, or media platforms. And this kind of work that they want to unpack, they've done it before. When it comes to other countries, even in Africa and stuff, it's not the first time they've done, this type of work. So obviously, when they I believe when they were communicating with these people to say, you know what, this is what they're going to do. Probably they never believed that they were going to, go ahead and do such a thing. So we know this is a company, and there are legalities in everything, right? Like what other guys are saying, like Ian, what is saying that maybe they employed powerful lawyers and stuff to try and stop it. So Al Jazeera, they're not stupid. They're an organization. They're professional. So they are. I would like to think they decided to look into that response. To see what they, just to determine what they can do in terms of the people that are representing them. And in this case, the lawyers. And I don't believe Al Jazeera will back off because they've got a good foundation of authenticity, coming out with uh, uh, producing news that have got substance, and they're different from any other media house. So that's my small
the accused to give responses, and then in the same sentence you say they're amazing journalists, they're an amazing media house. Like, if they were amazing, it means that during the course of the 4 or so years that the documentary was being done, they already had chances to respond. They tell you that we approached so and so and he refused to answer. They then don't say, in the middle of them trying to present it, then they say, oh yes, now he wants to answer, we're going back to him. They might flight it, and then after the whole thing has been presented, they go back and say, okay, this is what we said, you can have another take and respond. I also don't know where someone is investigated. After they're investigated, then they are given a chance to answer questions to the public. That the public does not know which questions they are responding to. Like, I'll ask you right now, which questions is Mangunja responding to that you and I know, besides maybe Simba, who was part of the documentary? All of us just know that he's saying something because there are accusations that have been laid. Do we even know how the RBZ is implicated as an institution? We don't have that sufficient information because the documentary is not yet out there. You see, but he's responding to it publicly, not responding it to the people that are making the documentary. That already is another red flag. That's questionable. If it was part of the documentary, then he should be responding to say, okay, these are the things that have been put before me by the interviewer. Come and sit down. These are how we are responding to the following things. And I don't, if those accusations have been laid, I think they should be out in the public. Then we know what he's responding to, right? Because right now it's like it's happening as a backwater deal whereby they're responding to each other. And this is why I said the government has been given a chance to clean itself, right? And who gave it that chance? It cannot be Al Jazeera that's going to say, PFO, government of Zimbabwe, we want you to respond to the following things in public, sanitize yourself before they even laid any accusation. But what accusations they start to here are small things that are seeping out, the snippets or the people that say they're involved in the documentary and then are releasing questions here and there, or Kutiningi has been pointed and so has been pointed. But everyone else really doesn't know what they're responding to. You see? And the thing though is we are all giving theories. Like, again, what advocate said, do we even know that there is any legal process that is happening that has stopped this from being aired? We don't. That's just another theory we're putting out there. The same as the theory that I am still going to maintain, because so far it has served me right. Before there
Okay.
was even stopping what we're talking about now, I pointed out that we have a relationship with the host country, and that host country is not going to permit this to happen, right? It's not. And 2 days later, it disappeared. So my theory, as it stands, is still serving me right. I'm not going to go into any litigation. I am saying there's a real relationship between someone who's very powerful or a government who's very powerful that has delayed this and has given the government of Zimbabwe a head start. The fact that they are responding to it publicly and we don't know what they're responding to is what has given me the slight hope that maybe it will air out. But if it wasn't that, I would tell you that this is a documentary that's just going to disappear. But now, because they have been given a head start, it will come out, it will be watered down. And I hear people saying, "Oh no, it's an amazing media house. They can never be infiltrated." I won't take it from Simba because whether he says it or not, he has bias as an employee and also as a participant in the entire documentary that we're talking about. So there is a lot of bias there. So I won't take his word for it. As an
Okay.
employee, what do you say? What do you say about your employer?
Okay, Tadini.
Yeah.
Unaita uchinowamvura so that I can engage Simba as well. Just hold on a sec, Tadini. Right, Simba, I just needed to understand the chronology of events when it comes to the right to respond. Okay, once the finals akaba GMB, right? Then you come to you do investigations. Then woya kwandiri onditi by the way iwewe ndine nyaya yako yandinayo yandoda kuburitsa Shakati. You are giving me the right to respond, isn't it? But I'll start twice flight the article out. I'll start right with it, so you haven't published it. And it. Does it make sense what Al Jazeera did on the right to respond? Which sequence was followed? That's why my confusion is. Do you give someone the right to respond? Why to advertise? Why some snippets first? How does it work? Please take me through the chronology. Thanks.
That's an interesting one there, and thank you for actually bringing that up because for your own information, there are discussions around inside the state apparatus um, where they are accusing Al Jazeera of rushing. And you can actually see some of this communication in Mangujiga's statement. Because what he's saying, look, you threw something out there and without the full substance. You threw allegations, right? You threw a snippet, you threw a trailer, right, and a press statement. But then there is no further detail, and then now you delay. So there is a wing inside the state apparatus that actually argues that Al Jazeera messed up by doing that. They should not have thrown the trailer, and then, as it were, sought for comment. However, I just want to say that is not the case, or maybe perhaps the entire case. The chronology of events there, ordinarily in a story, when you're working on a story, is get a comment first. I mean, this is how I do, this is how we do. Get a comment first from the person that you are accusing, or your facts, or what your story has gathered accuses. Right, so get my comments of if it is a person, and if that person is connected to an organization, also get a comment from that organization or company. Now, this is just ordinary standard journalism, because you want to try and bring substance to every facet of whatever it is that people are supposed to read, see, hear, and understand. However, this being the case in just general journalism, when it comes to broadcasting, the circumstances are slightly different, in that broadcasting requires a little bit further. It is further when it comes to getting comments. Stories, for instance, that we generally cover on a day-to-day basis. They can be published even within 5 minutes. If I see, Finos, you have withdrawn in your account £500,000 when you are on a £2,000 salary, right? I could easily publish a story within 5 minutes of discovering that. Yeah, I could easily do that. If I see you firing bullets, okay, on a crowd, I could easily just publish, sometimes even before getting a comment from you. However, when it comes to broadcasting, especially like in this case, where you have spent 4 years investigating, the standards are a little bit stricter. Now, what I'm talking about now is not what is in English statute. It's not what is in the laws of Great Britain or the laws of any country. This is now a regulated territory where there are certain stipulations where, if you are a licensed broadcaster, like Al Jazeera is licensed in the UK, it's licensed like literally as a licensed. Are you with me? So you find that there are authorities there where they require a certain level of consultation. And that is what happened now. You have finished your documentary. The documentary was finished, I can tell you, by the 20th, 20th of February, the documentary has been finished. Right? And now it was now ready for full, like just to send it out there. And it's not 1 hour, it's actually 4 whole hours. In fact, there are even more than 4 hours here. You're talking a potential hundreds of hours if that content was to be watched, all of it. But it's been contracted into 4 hours, right? So What then happened there now, according to Ofcom, people know Ofcom. Ofcom is the authority, it's like your equivalent of Potras in Zimbabwe. Ofcom, when you're about to publish something like this, broadcast something like this, you need to get as much as you can. You need to demonstrate. There's no stipulation as to period. So the period of consultation ranges between 1 second and and even 1 year. I mean, it doesn't stipulate, but what it stipulates, I'll try and pick up the text and show people here. It stipulates that you need to show that you have given adequate opportunity to the person that is going to be affected adversely, or however, right? The persons, or even organizations that are connected to the story. So there's no stipulation there. So the back of responsibility, of burden now, rests on the broadcaster now to say, look, have we done enough? And that's the area of abuse, where now people who are connected to Mangojga, or connected to the Asian fella, right, and all these other, or connected to Hubert, a man that I greatly detest, and I apologize. I do state my bias against Hubert Angel. Right, those people can now abuse that loophole, because there's no stipulation. So the wait here, Al Jazeera, it could even last 5 months until they broadcast. I'm not saying it's going to last that, and I
Okay.
don't think it's going to last that far.
Right. I think that question is answered.
Yeah.
If you mute your mic for a bit, thanks. The question is answered in terms of the chronology and the law, what it states. I need to go to Mr. Mugova. Mr. Mugova, I think Tadini used the word head start. The government has been given a head start from the time that we heard about, or we saw snippets of the Al Jazeera documentary. Mkomani Kimangwana came out and said, we acknowledge corruption happens, smuggling happens, everything that has been aired happens anyway, and the government is dealing with it. Then a few days later, Mr. Mangujwa comes, press statement, Zimbabwe is not under sanctions, and everything is coming out because Vanuatu name dropped. The issue then becomes, has Al Jazeera's delay given the government a head start in terms of, trying to firefight this? Go ahead. Mr. Mgola, are you there or not? Right, I'll move on to Njabulo, please, if you can answer the same question. Thanks.
Good evening, Finance and Advocate Ebert. Thank you for a very informative platform. It's quite very interesting. I was listening to Tadini speak in terms of and what you are asking currently. One thing, when I snippet, I think it did a bit of it was very direct, that it pointed to something. Remember when the snippet starts, it shows you Pet Angel, then there is a commentator who comments, and we're doing this. They were saying these were sanction busting measures. You see, it talks of gold. Then there's someone says, no, these were sanction busting measures for the country. So there are two things. Then Nick Mangwana comes and says, no, corruption is there. He hasn't touched the issue of sanctions. But Mangunja comes out and touches the issue of sanctions, which was mentioned. So to me, it's a sign that even just looking at that snippet, they could have been responding to those trying to exonerate themselves, to say, corruption is there. Nick says, no, corruption is there in the government. And John Mangunja says, no, you know what? We are not under sanctions. I feel they are trying to exonerate themselves, and they've prepared. And I feel what Tadine said, it makes more sense in terms of I feel the delay has also been buying time for the government of Zimbabwe to put their house in order because, y- you know, right now, if our RBZ has been mentioned to say it has been involved, to what extent and what was the justification. So I feel everyone is trying to put his house in order so that once this thing comes out, they would have maybe cemented or tried to shield themselves against what is going to come out at the end of the day. Because I felt those snippets were very direct, they were very precise, and they were pointing fingers to a lot of things, of which, if we have been following in the political space, we have heard ZANU PF people coming up and saying, you know what, Takwire, they are doing this because these are sanction busting measures. I think most of you that have been involved in political discussions, you have heard such and such words being spoken over and over again, of which when the likes of John Manguja come out, I feel they are trying to exonerate or remove the
Oh, sorry. Do I think that the documentary? I don't think so. I
Are
don't
you
think
there,
so.
Simba?
But yes. Oh, sorry. I apologize. I don't think.
Okay,
I don't
do you
think.
think this will be
Certainly.
aired after my elections?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, the question was, do you think this will be aired after the elections then?
No, not at all. And I can tell you there are not even discussions around this anywhere yeah, from where I work. Hakuna kunhu zvakadaro. Yeah. And there are what was sent, as I explained before, was not so much a legal objection. It was more of a social to legal objection using some just trying to be some persuasive language. Are you with me? And to suggest that the documentary was produced to effect elections. But when you look at it as a Zimbabwean yourself, they've produced documentaries of this nature before. They did one in Namibia, exposing a minister, a whole cabinet minister, and so many other people connected to him who have got state power. Was that to influence elections? Look at all the other investigations they have done. Yeah. Well, was that to influence elections? But also come back here. You could even cite how the documentary is being produced in March. The elections will be held officially. They'll be held around July, August. So how could they possibly affect elections? My point is, folks, yeah, where we are now, the juncture is such that Zimbabweans have an opportunity to effect reforms now. Now that even the RBZ is involved, right? You can play your part. Stop blaming Chamisa or his party for not effecting reforms. Stop blaming even Mnangagwa for not effecting reforms. This is now your part now. You, the same way that letter was written, you as a Zimbabwean, you can lay claim over that fraction of your own loss. The total money that you can actually quantify from the documentary is 17 billion, at least 17 billion in the last in the short period here that is covered. 17 billion US dollars of smuggled money out of Zimbabwe. So with that, you can say, look, I'm losing myself. I won't have money for paracetamol because this is my money. Yeah, and if you can submit your own this time, don't make it a persuasive appeal like what has been done. This time, if people can do this, I can see here on this space there are about 200 people listening. If every one of you was to do this, you will have outbeaten you this communication, which is just one or two letters, correspondences that were sent. And you send them, as I said before, to the Al Jazeera directors. You can even sue them and say, look, come on, folks, if you don't release this. You can then send also to the Qatar government, who, as I protested earlier and demonstrated to you here, they are not involved at all in the editorial policy. But to cover any what? any possibility of a league or something being happening there, right? You could do that strategically, folks. At the end of the day, I'm telling you as an insider on this documentary, right? Zimbabweans should stop complaining about looting. They should start acting. And if you do this, you actually empower Al Jazeera this time. Now, this time to do another documentary as a follow up to this one. This time to show. And I can promise you there, these folks, listen to me, I've worked with them. These guys, they're professionals. I wish one day, of course, you may never know who they are. You're not supposed to know who they are. But I wish one day that they'll all come out. You see how amazing in the careers, how many, in decades of years of experience in broadcasting, investigative journalism these folks have. They're no jokers. They just love the profession. My point is, if you Zimbabweans play your part now, I've played my part. Yeah, over these 4 years, and all these other folks in Al Jazeera have played their part. Folks, the buck now rests on you to play your part. Stop blaming anyone. Stop blaming even Mnangagwa. You yourself play
Simba.
your part. Thank you.
So sorry,
Mkoma Simba, sorry, Mkoma Simba. You know,
sorry.
it is a fact. Sorry, Okonza, it is a fact that Al Jazeera is partly funded by the Qatari government. So I wouldn't want to buy totally the idea of non-interference from the Qatari government. On face value, what you are saying is correct. To say that the Qatari government is not involved on editorial policy. But surely we cannot dismiss whereby somebody is putting their money and their funding a media house to totally dismiss a political hand.
Can I answer you there quickly? The first interference, please understand. Let's get facts before we make a conclusion, because we feel that the Qatari could do this. Folks, you saw how much money the Qatar government has. You saw how the World Cup was held. Those guys are not jokers. I think you agree with me. So could they be bribed by ED, or could they be influenced by ED? I mean, I'll ask you. You know.
I'm not
Let me
saying they
finish.
could, Simba.
Mhm.
No, get my point before you answer. I'm not saying they could be bribed by ED. I'm saying what Tadini was saying. They themselves could be implicated.
No, they're not, definitely not implicated. I can tell you that the Qatar government are not implicated. And by the way, the stakeholders inside Al Jazeera are not just the Qatar government. By the way, okay, it's not. They're not just. And also, the stakeholders on this documentary is not just Al Jazeera. I just want you to know that I am also a stakeholder on this documentary. Okay, just for your own information, I'm not an employee of Al Jazeera. Okay, I'm an associate on this. So, and then lastly, let me just throw this thing to you also, which is crucial. The first interference on this investigation was on 15 November. 15
Okay,
May.
Ngoma Simba,
Let me
can you
finish.
do it
Let me finish.
in two
Let me finish.
minutes?
Let me
In
finish.
2 minutes,
Yes,
please.
and then I'll land.
Yeah.
The first interference against this documentary and this investigation and other investigations, right, was on the 15th of May last year by Opo Chingono and his friend Benson Muneri. When that happened, I delayed producing that expose of Auxilia Mnangagwa. Are you supposing that I was also bought out or influenced by ED by doing what I did? Are you supposing? I mean, this is the delay. Yamurgona e magazuona pai last year muna May pai. There was so much frustration. Yakaitika. Yeah, because I delayed revealing that ning ya auxilia ya the video. Yeah, and still even up to this day, there's still more. There's another a larger chunk of that conversation which is yet to be made public. Yeah, are you supposing that my delay after Wopo Chingono claimed that I had blackmailed Auxilia, are you supposing that my expose was because Mnangagwa gave me money, or the Qatar government, or someone, whoever you're accusing? Are you supposing that I, Simba Chikanza, look at my work, look at my history, my journalism over even this period, EOE, how many times I have upset, I have embarrassed Vana Mnangagwa, yeah, and I continue to do so. Look at how even just now Yeah, all this work yandaita SAE, including exposing Mnangagwa before the British courts pa case ya William Chinyanga iyoyo, where I stood to challenge a judge, a sitting judge at the Old Bailey. If you have been to the UK, you can Google what the Old Bailey is. A case that I could have been arrested and embarrassed and exposed Mnangagwa. Are you supposing that I'm saying it, the first interference on this documentary was last year. And up to this day, you are still deprived, even you yourself, all of you, you're still deprived of a larger chunk of that conversation, Auxilia. Is that because I was given money by ED? No, please understand, processes that happen in journalism. Journalists, when they research, there are always people who are out there who don't want information to come out, and they will raise objections, and those objections are legal.
Ngoma Simba in a minute.
And akupedza.
So,
So those objections, those
Simba,
objections are
Simba,
mainly legal. Hold on, let me finish, please. Those objections,
no,
people.
I wanted to ask you something as
Mhm.
well before you land.
Yeah.
Could you to those that are looking
But Konza, we won't move now. I think we'll give you a time to present where Simba said he wanted to go. So we
No.
don't want people to feel that Simba is taking over the space. Let him just land in a minute, and he said he's leaving. We have also you as a new speaker. We have Signoro, we have Mugoa, we have Deda. Can he just land, please?
No, it's something quick. I'm not going to waste your time. So, Simba, to those that are looking forward to this documentary, can we say it's a matter of days or weeks, before it comes out? Yeah, that's all. That's all I wanted to ask Simba.
Right. It's a matter of any time between now and the next year. But hear me, I'm just trying to tell you that I don't have a dating. But what I can tell you is this quickly. That the documentary will come out one way or the other very, very soon.
All right, thank you, Nkoma Simba. Thank you
By
so much.
by hook or crook, it will ndatichi nini by hook or crook, documentary ichabuda one way or the other. So whatever delay that is there, it is only legal. Unfortunately, that is just the process. Yeah, journalism. Yeah, and don't think kuti because people have delayed vatengwa kana kuti va-influencwa na Mnangagwa, while that is very possible that Mnangagwa could do that, right, using surrogates and all sorts, right? It is not the case here. As you can see in my own, like in the very first interference last year in May, yakaitwa na Opo Chingono iyoyo, right? That wasn't.
Okay, Ngoma Simba, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much for joining us and putting your insight. We have new speakers co-host.